There are seasons in life when love feels close, and there are seasons when love feels far away. After disappointment, heartbreak, or divorce, a person may begin to wonder quietly, is love still possible for me? Not because they have stopped believing in love completely, but because something inside them has grown careful, guarded, tired, afraid to hope too much. Neville Goddard taught that the state we live from within shapes the way we experience life. But what does that mean when the subject is love? Does it mean pretending loneliness does not exist? Does it mean forcing yourself to feel loved when your heart still feels tender? Does it mean trying to control another person? No. Neville's teaching points to something deeper. Before love appears on the outside, many people must first notice the state they keep returning to on the inside. The feeling of being unwanted, the assumption that love has passed them by, the fear that they are easier to leave than to love. In this lesson, we'll follow Elena's story, a woman learning that love is not only something she waits for, it is also a state she can begin to live from. Welcome to Neville Explained. Today, we're exploring Neville Goddard on love, the state of being loved. Love is often treated like something that only happens between two people. A message, a date, a relationship, a promise, a marriage. And of course, those things matter. But love also has an inner side. It can reveal what a person believes they are worthy of receiving. It can reveal whether they feel chosen or overlooked. It can reveal whether they live from openness or protection, trust or suspicion, peace or fear. For many people, love is not only something they desire, it is something they react to. A message goes unanswered, and the old wound speaks. A quiet evening arrives, and loneliness begins telling a story. Someone new shows interest, and the heart wonders if it is safe to hope again. After disappointment, the mind may begin to protect itself by expecting less. Maybe love is not for me anymore. Maybe I am too old to begin again. Maybe I am easier to leave than to love. This is why love can become such a powerful mirror. Not because love is meant to make us feel weak, but because our relationship with love often reveals the state we have been practicing. And before that state can change, it first has to be seen. Elena did not stop believing in love all at once. It happened more quietly than that. After the divorce, life kept moving. There were errands, responsibilities, work, phone calls, appointments, ordinary days. From the outside, she seemed fine, and in many ways she was. She had learned how to keep going, how to be responsible, how to carry herself with dignity. But somewhere beneath that strength, a quieter story had formed. A story that asked, what if love does not happen for me again? What if that part of my life is already over? What if I am simply learning how to live without it? Some evenings felt peaceful. Others felt strangely heavy. A quiet apartment could begin to feel like proof. A weekend could begin to feel like absence. Silence could begin telling a story she never meant to believe. Maybe I was easier to leave than to love. Maybe I am too guarded now. Maybe my heart is too tired to begin again. Elena did not need someone to rescue her, but she did need to notice the state she had slowly begun to call normal. Because before love could be experienced differently, the inner story she was living from had to be seen clearly. Neville Goddard did not teach love as something we chase from the outside, and he did not teach that another person should become the source of our worth. Love matters. Relationship matters. Companionship matters. But Neville asked people to look deeper than the outer condition. He taught that the state we occupy within ourselves begins to shape what we expect, what we notice, what we accept, and how we move through life. This matters deeply with love, because love often touches the places where people feel most tender: worthiness, rejection, trust, vulnerability, fear, hope. For Elena, divorce had left more than memories. It had left an assumption. Maybe I am no longer chosen. Maybe love is behind me. Maybe I have to protect myself from hoping again. And from that state, even possibility felt uncomfortable. A kind message could feel suspicious. A quiet evening could feel like confirmation. A new beginning could feel too risky to believe in. Neville's teaching invited Elena to ask a different question. Not simply, will someone love me again? But, who am I being within myself when I think about love? Am I living from rejection? Am I living from abandonment? Am I living from the assumption that love has passed me by? Or can I begin to enter the state of someone who is already loved, already whole, already worthy, and quietly open to receive? This is not pretending. This is not chasing. This is not forcing another person. This is changing the inner place from which Elena meets the subject of love. The state of being loved is not desperation. It is not waiting by the phone. It is not needing someone else to prove that you are worthy. And it is not pretending loneliness never visits. The state of being loved is quieter than that. It is the feeling of being whole before someone arrives. The feeling that your heart is still worthy of tenderness. The feeling that love is still possible without forcing it. The feeling that you can remain open without losing yourself. For Elena, this did not mean she suddenly stopped feeling lonely. It meant she stopped treating loneliness as proof that she was unwanted. It meant she stopped treating divorce as proof that love had failed her forever. It meant she began practicing a different relationship with herself, a softer one, a steadier one, a more loving one. Instead of asking from fear, "Will anyone ever choose me again?" she began asking from a different state. How would I live today if I already knew I was loved? How would I speak to myself? How would I care for my heart? What would I allow myself to hope for again? This is where the state of being loved begins. Not in chasing, not in pretending, not in needing someone else to complete the story, but in the quiet decision to stop identifying with rejection and begin living from worthiness, peace, and openness. So how does someone practice the state of being loved? Not by pretending loneliness is not real, not by chasing someone, not by trying to force a relationship to appear. The practice begins with honesty, a quiet pause, a breath, a willingness to notice the state you have been living from. For Elena, this meant sitting with the loneliness without letting it define her. She would open her journal, make a cup of tea, and ask herself gently, what story am I telling about love? Am I telling myself that love is over? Am I telling myself that I am too difficult to love? Am I telling myself that I must protect my heart by expecting less? Then she began to practice a different feeling. Not excitement, not fantasy, not desperation, but quiet worthiness. The feeling that she was already whole. The feeling that her heart still mattered. The feeling that love could meet her without her abandoning herself. She began to imagine herself moving through the day as a woman who was already loved. Not because someone had arrived yet, but because love was no longer something she had to beg life for. It was a state she could begin to live from. And from that state, she could open gently, without fear, without pressure, without losing herself. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself gently, what state do I enter when I think about love? Do I enter fear? Do I enter loneliness? Do I enter the memory of being disappointed? Do I assume love is still possible, or do I quietly assume it has already passed me by? Do I feel open, or do I feel guarded? Do I feel worthy, or do I feel like I have to prove I am worth choosing? Neville's teaching asks us to become aware of the inner position we are occupying. Because the question is not only, will someone love me? The deeper question is, am I willing to live from the state of being loved now? Not because someone has arrived, not because every lonely feeling has disappeared, but because my worth does not begin when someone chooses me, and it does not end when someone leaves. For Elena, this was the beginning of a new relationship with herself. She could miss companionship without becoming desperate. She could desire love without abandoning peace. She could remain open without handing her worth to another person. And maybe that is where love begins to feel possible again. Not when the heart becomes perfect, but when the heart feels safe enough to open, even slowly, even gently, even one quiet moment at a time. Love is not only something we wait for, it is also something we learn to live from. For Elena, the loneliness mattered, the divorce mattered, the disappointment mattered. But beneath all of it was the state she kept returning to, the feeling of being left, the fear of being unwanted, the quiet assumption that love might be behind her. Neville's teaching did not ask Elena to ignore what happened. It asked her to stop letting the past name her future. It invited her to meet love from a different inner place, a place of worthiness, a place of peace, a place of openness, a place that says, I am still worthy of love. My heart is not finished. I can be whole before love arrives. I can open without desperation. I can receive without losing myself. This is the state of being loved, not chasing, not pretending, not needing another person to prove your value, but the quiet decision to stop identifying with rejection and begin living from love, dignity, and quiet expectation. So today, ask yourself gently, what state am I practicing when I think about love? Am I practicing fear? Or am I practicing openness? Am I rehearsing rejection? Or am I allowing myself to feel worthy again? The outer relationship still matters. Companionship still matters. Love still matters. But the inner state matters too. Because the state you return to becomes the place you live from. And the place you live from shapes the way you meet life. For Elena, love did not begin again with someone knocking at the door. It began in one quiet moment, one honest breath, one softer thought. One evening when she realized her heart was still open. Not wide open, not perfectly healed, but open enough to begin. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next lesson, stay curious, reflect deeply, and take good care of your mind.